is going to cause a woman to turn into a dude. There is one funny potential side effect. Do you know what their response was? That's not what he was talking about. Watch the full video. I did watch the full video because it's not that long. And my response is, dude, that shit is garbage, man. You go ahead and play that. Let's play what he says about it. That kind of bullshit was sold to us back in the 90s, which is the bullshit you get from Greg. And then on top of it, he's trying to sell you something that is total fucking garbage. They want to steal your Social Security. They're going to slash your Social Security. Where's the evidence of that? We are literally at war with Russia. We're just using somebody else to do the fighting and dying for us. I'm really anti-Trump. I'm so anti-Trump. He and Musk are friends and they're co-presidents, and I'm going to get rid of my Tesla. I had a conversation with Grok. How many of these electric vehicle companies do you think are profitable? And it gets worse than that. But who gets hurt? Average Americans get hurt. And here's how average Americans get hurt. It's not a Nazi vehicle. It's not killing a race of people. Y'all were trying to save the fucking planet, and now you don't care about saving the planet, but you care about the threat to democracy? What does democracy even mean if there's no planet? How do you just totally rip out one of your core beliefs? Doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious. Just a motherfucking jump. Just go. Let's fucking go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. And we are ready to go with our other fucking guy. Chase is here. Chase, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man?
Yeah, things are good, man. Things are good. I just realized, though, that if we want to sneak in another spring training game, it needs to be now.
Yeah.
Man, that shit passes so fast, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
And real quickly, and we're going to get right into our MAHA segment to start. Oh my God, it was so much fun. Even though I lost, I had a 3-game parlay and my first 2 games won, and Texas and Xavier. And Texas was in the lead for most of the game. And the way they started the game, just literally on the floor, diving for balls. And neither team got over 100 points.
Okay.
I don't think either team got over 90 points. And just old-fashioned basketball like we used to see the pros play during the Jordan era.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha,
Like you do not have to score 120 points to excite the fans. It
Yeah.
just proves, and that's what I love about college ball. Not that they're amateurs, because they're not really amateurs anymore when you get paid and things like that. But what I really like about is just the style of basketball.
Yeah.
And just the heart in going after everything. And it's not always about talent or your field goal percentage. Your field goal percentage might be less, but if you're getting more opportunities because you're causing the other team to make more turnovers, you're getting more rebounds, you're getting more second chance opportunities, that makes up for a lot of shit. Defense makes up for a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Just playing defense. And it was just a fun game to watch, and that was the beginning of truly like March Madness. I mean, they do have those couple play-in games, right away that they've done, but the regular bracket getting started last night, that was cool. And then the next couple of days, I remember some years ago, like the first full day of March Madness, you just skipped work in the afternoon and went to a local pub and ordered wings and
watched some basketball.
Hung out and watched some basketball. Yeah.
That's a good excuse. Hell yeah.
It
No,
was
I love
good.
that.
We used to have a good time doing that. Yeah, and I had a friend that he was the voice of the Toledo Rockets.
Okay. Oh, wow.
He announced for the Toledo Rockets for years and years, and him and I were good friends, and we golfed together and stuff. And yeah, him and I would take off
Take the
and
day
go
off, watch some basketball.
Yeah. And you'd see somebody else there you knew.
Doing the same thing.
Yeah. Good time.
Gotta love that.
Good time.
Gotta
Yeah.
love that.
I love that stuff. So let's get started with our segments. We are going to start with our Make America Healthy Again. And So we just talked about this. It was the previous episode? The previous episode that we've done a couple of takedowns or takes on Greg Doucette's videos, the IFBB Pro.
Yep.
But this one in particular got me a little bit because of his talking about Anavar and suggesting that Anavar's at a dose, say 25 milligrams, is going to cause a woman to turn into a dude. And I would say, everyone is different, but that's not going to be the case for most women. And you just rarely see, my personal experience working with hundreds and hundreds of women who have taken Anavar. Let's see what none experienced anything like a change in their voice. None experienced anything like weird, excessive hair. I can say I didn't mention this in the last video, and that was my fault for leaving it out. There is one funny potential side effect that sometimes I'll mention to people and couples and stuff.
Okay.
But I did for whatever reason I didn't mention last time. And it's funny, but it's a potential side effect that you just don't see happen, really. I think of all the years I've done this, and personally doing it for 16, helping people for 14, one time, one couple, and one that included the female, thought that they were experiencing this and that it happened. And that was a female's clitoris could get bigger.
Oh, okay.
So enlarged clitoris. Now, it's all the guys that I've said that to, you know what their response was? And that's a problem. Why? If it looks like roast beef down there, that's different. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about messy flaps down there. We're talking about the nub. And probably it might be helpful for some guys if it was a little bit bigger to be able to figure out where the fuck it is. Some women might appreciate that. Oh, dude, he finally figured it out. Good for you.
You're not wrong.
It's just funny to talk about. But seriously, only one time has somebody mentioned that to me, that they were potentially experiencing that. And, they can just stop taking it at that point. For things to stay permanent, they would have to continue to do that dose or higher and continue to do it for, considerable period of time.
Okay.
So 25 milligrams is usually about the dose that I've recommended for a short period of time for competitors, not for just your average woman, but for competitors, usually more in powerlifting than bodybuilding, maybe for a couple weeks, kicking it up to 50 milligrams. But that's not common. That's not doesn't happen a lot. That's not that big a thing. And then they would drop back down. But if they sustained that, then obviously their probability of something happening would go up. But again, there's no other steroid that benefits women, that gets real results, that has less real side effects. I mean, the side effects just and that goes for men too. You just shouldn't always expect side effects. Everything has potential side effects. What I don't like is when people like Greg, who should know better, are trying to fearmonger people with that, oh, this is going to happen, and oh my God. Or even the woman who posted about it, and her voice, we all agreed, her voice did not sound like a man. Now, I didn't hear her voice previous to that to notice if a change or anything like that. There was no comparison given for that. But Yeah, and this is something that women take who are not competitors. Just your average woman who's having difficulty, adding muscle. And especially as you get older, over 40, for both men and women, it becomes more of a struggle, even if you're doing everything right. Dawn was stopped by a woman, I think she was 65. And this woman works her ass off in the gym. We see her on a regular basis. Now, Dawn's advice to her was focus more on protein in her diet and to reduce, she does a lot of cardio. Add more lifting, reduce the cardio to get the results that she wanted. She was already thin and slim, but just didn't, for all her work she was putting in, didn't have the toning and muscle definition, that she wanted to have when that muscle's exposed. Now, in her clothes, she's going to look like a healthy, thinner woman. But, in certain tops or where the sleeves aren't there and looking at the arms, she wanted that definition and was certainly putting in the work. And that's somebody that even at that age, can benefit from that kind of thing. Women in their 30s, women in their 40s, absolutely. Now, it's a personal choice. We don't push it on anybody. People ask. The problem is the information out there, people just don't know on their own because there's so much information, what to believe, who to trust. And, Dawn is a perfect example because they would, and this is another thing too, where people will say to her, how do I look like you? You're never going to look like her. You're never going to look like her. Now, you might be able to find someone out there with a body type closer to yours that you can try to strive for or using as an example. But like Dawn is never going to have those thin legs. She was not built to have thin legs, much like my big sister that I've talked about, Joni, who, was in track in high school, was a cheerleader in high school. I had to, your legs are your legs. And you have bigger quads, and not from weight, but just how you're built and just genetically. You just have bigger quads, just like some people genetically just have bigger calves and calves 4 times the size of mine and never work them out, ever. It's all genetics. So you got to figure out what you're most genetically like to then take that, what God has given you, and you can make what God gave you better. But you can't change that. And that's just you can make that certain style or that look as good as you want to make it, or whatever you're comfortable with or your goals are, and they should be yours, not somebody else's. But, having an image in your head of something that is impossible to obtain because of genetics is not going to put you in a good mind frame. You want to know, but this woman can make what she has better. She is more genetically thin, but that doesn't mean she can't have toning in that. That's just not destined for her, and certainly not at 65, no matter what help you get. So that is a big thing, but I did want to mention that again because Chase put together a little short that I posted on my TikTok, and go ahead and throw that up here.
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and play it.
And so if you are going to do it, and remember, I'm not a doctor, never ever break the law, and only use these items with the consent from your own doctor. And so if you do decide to use it, always use the lowest dose that makes you happy.
I didn't even catch that the first time I watched this. He never breaks the law? You telling me, a doctor can prescribe Anavar. They don't do it very often. Maybe at a clinic. He's gotten all his Anavar over the years, being a professional bodybuilder from his doctor? Does he want me to believe that? Don't challenge me like that, Greg. Come on. We know that ain't true, dude. Doesn't do anything illegal. Uh-huh. Sure.
Who knew I would make it this far?
That was a good short.
And so if you
And somebody tried to say in the comments that that's not what he was talking about. Watch the full video. I did watch the full video because it's not that long. And my response is, hey, bitch, watch the whole video of mine. Watch my whole video and not just the short. I know exactly what this dude was talking about. So, yeah, I didn't know that part. Somebody must have just posted that about him selling it. But that's the thing I wanted to mention. One of the reasons I was mentioning this again, because it was something that I didn't bring up in the last episode, and we should have shown you at the end. I think it was towards the end of that video, is Greg has his own product that he sells over the counter. And what do I think about over the counter? A lot of over the counter products. Most of them do not work. And he sells this testosterone, which is a testosterone booster. This test booster can increase, I would say, maybe around that ingredient has been shown to maybe increase testosterone levels in men by about 50 points or so.
Okay.
Which if you're, at 200, when you get tested for your total testosterone, you might be able to find it where he's holding up the product somewhere close to where he's, or maybe it's an ad that he does where he's selling it. But he definitely, you can see it even in the video you have up now, that yelled right there. Yeah. Yeah. And there is Turk Builder. Dude, that shit is garbage, man. You go ahead and play that. Let's play what he says about this.
SARMs, Austrian, you name it, while not even leveraging the gains that they can make from products that are 100% natural that doesn't cause virilization. So for example, creatine, GO2 Max, Turk Builder. If you're on Anavar and or SARMs and you're not taking this, then you are in fact an idiot, at least in my own opinion. You're using Anavar when you could be using testosterone, GO2 Max, and creatine, getting gains out of that, which would then allow you to get the gains you need to turn pro while using less Anavar. But my coach said take LGD, Rad 140, Winstrol,
just total
Anavar, growth
garbage.
hormone, you name it. Why not use your head? If you can make gains while being natural.
That's enough of that. Like, look, that kind of bullshit was sold to us back in the 90s, and that's over. You want to take creatine because it's one of the most studied supplement of all time, and fine, take your creatine, okay? But you think taking creatine is gonna? You would have to be super genetically gifted, and the creatine wouldn't matter to be able to turn pro without using testosterone or other steroids. I mean, there's only a handful of men that have been able to do that. Only a handful that were any good. And they were genetically gifted, like Ronnie Coleman, like Jay Cutler. They're just genetically gifted that were able to get large enough and do it at the amateur level. Now, once they got to the pros, like they were getting, Ronnie Coleman talks about it, his first initial shows and stuff. He was getting killed, man. He made his body the best he could make it naturally. And I'm not against that. I'm for it. It's what I did. Now, I wasn't in the best of shape before I started because I am a recovering alcoholic. I was an active alcoholic at the time. And as I've said, I'd be 300 pounds if I wasn't working out an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week. But at different times, from mid-20s to 39, I got my body to the best it could be naturally. And I spent thousands and thousands of dollars, wasted thousands and thousands of dollars on crap like this and stuff that had steroid type names at the time that was, this is legal Anavar. And that shit is pure fucking garbage. It's not approved by the FDA because the FDA doesn't approve or disapprove of supplements. It's not their job. Now, if there's some kind of fraud going on, they can get involved, but it's not their job. And many times when these products are tested, they don't even have what they claim to have on the label. And that to me was always the most important thing of any type of supplement or even vitamins that I take. And that's why I do the Thrive. But there's no Thrive product that is trying to claim that you're going to get steroid-like results or even a percentage of steroid-like results. That testosterone, you're getting 5% of what using, that's going to do 5% of what using something that's real and legitimate is going to give you. And you're going to notice that, and that's going to help you turn pro, like you said. And again, most people aren't looking to do that anyways. They just want to be the best they can be now, and they want to be better than they are now. And look, do what you can do, was my point, naturally. And you make the decision, and people are going to make the decision no matter what I think. I made my own decision for me. I'm not promoting that other people should do what I do. I just know people are, and based on my own experience and the mistakes I made, I just want to help people do it right. I'm not going to chastise them or try to talk them out of it and say, well, I do it, but you shouldn't, which is the bullshit you get from Greg. And then on top of it, he's trying to sell you something that is total fucking garbage. Now, he may have another product. His creatine product may be excellent, but here's my problem is it's hard for me to use a company's product. Let me give you a really quick example and then we'll move on. But people in these different fitness groups were always asking about pre-workout. Every 2 or 3 days, somebody would ask, and the longtime members of the group would get tired of answering, like, scroll through, dude, this question's been asked and answered hundreds of times. Well, the best pre-workout or a supplement to take is one that's clinically dosed, that has the ingredients in it and has them in the amount that they should be for clinical dosing. And I did a lot of study and research and tried to find what companies do clinical dosing for their pre-workout. And then I went beyond that and took that group of companies and put it through another filter. How many of those are being truly third-party tested, that what it says it has in it is actually in it. And then I lastly put it through another filter where I would check out their other products. And if that company, up to this point, they may have a great pre-workout that meets all my criteria, right? But then they're selling a shitty test booster that is fake, that is garbage, that doesn't work, because there's not a single one out there that does. There's not a single one out there that works, and certainly not how they tout it or how anyone would expect it to work. And so I would eliminate that company. So in reality, yeah, maybe that one product, is done right, but I don't trust you as a company when you're willing to sell the masses and steal their money and take their money by offering a garbage supplement. I lose all faith whatsoever in that company. So I found, a couple companies that didn't do that and purchased both of the products and just compared then taste-wise and stuff. And, what feeling I got, what boost I got, compared them that way and narrowed it down. And, so if somebody asked me, I would have a good recommendation for them that's actually legitimate. Not just one, take this, you'll really get tingly. Get the fuck out of here. I'm talking about, real shit that really works, that's properly dosed. So, there are good pre-workouts there. You got your creatine, and then you have your whey proteins. And you have to be careful with whey proteins because they spike them to make it look like there's more protein in there than there is. They do this protein spiking thing. And a number of companies have been caught doing that shit. So just because it's a whey protein powder, you can't assume that it's a good one. You have to go beyond. And it's up to you to do the research. The government's not doing it. The government's not doing it. I've done it. That's why people come to me and trust me, because they know whatever I'm talking about, I've done the work behind it. I've already done that. And they don't want to do the work, right? So I'm just going to ask Troy because I trust him and I know he's already done it. And I've proven that. So, yeah, I just wanted to touch on that again because I didn't mention that Greg had something to sell. And I don't fault him for that. That's fine that he has something to sell. But he could eliminate the one product that is total fucking garbage and stop pretending that people are going to get benefits from this fucking shit product that they're not going to get. It's just not, it's not true. We've been sold that kind of crap, again, since the 90s. It didn't work then. It doesn't work now. And trying to use the same gimmicks again, now, fuck you, man. No, that doesn't work. I'm gonna speak out against that because I hate people getting ripped off. I do, whether it's that or, they get bogus product or gear, whatever. I don't want to see people get ripped off, man. That's not a cool thing. So that is our Make America Healthy Again segment, and we are going to move on. We are going to move on. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy, and I'm the guy asking you to do us a favor and help us out by subscribing to the show, passing the show along, pick a segment, pick a show, share it with a friend. We're glad if you do. Happy if you do. God bless. I'm Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. To our MAGA segment, Make America Great Again. And I did some interesting work yesterday, digging up some information that I didn't know. I had an idea, but I actually did the work, something that the journalists are not doing today. And I want to mention this first before we get into talking about Tesla. I'm starting to hear it again a lot. When a Republican says something, mainstream media, both in televised media and in print, after they report it, they say without evidence. That Senator so-and-so said this, but without evidence. Didn't present evidence to the reporter or whatever. And here's my response to this. Motherfucker, that's your job. It's your job as a journalist to dig up the evidence to prove or disprove what that person said. Everything that's said, the individual saying it doesn't have to give you a list of links. Or you're doing it, that's what it is a lot of times, right? When you're making comments on social media, well, where's your proof? And even if you give them the links and the proof, it doesn't sway them. It doesn't matter. But my other problem with them saying without evidence is, why is that not being said with Democrats who are also making statements and also like Social Security? They want to steal your Social Security. They're going to slash your Social Security. Where's the evidence of that? Why are you not saying that so-and-so Democrat said that without evidence? Because it's true. It's true they're saying it without evidence. But you're only adding that little phrase when it comes to Republicans. And it's bullshit. And there's your media. I also seen where, very surprised, that Fox News, Fox, and the Wall Street Journal paid for flights and expensive steakhouses in New York City. They got together with a whole group of Democrat staffers. So like your top people that are, your staff, if you're Raskin or Pelosi or whoever, their top people, there was a group of them to talk about their messaging. Why is a news organization taking a political party aside and saying, hey, maybe your messaging isn't so good. Maybe we can give you some tips. Is that not odd? And then the other thing is, it was Fox. We're told Fox is just Republican shit. They just support Republicans, right? See, here's the thing. Fox's opinion people are, a good number of them are absolutely conservative. Absolutely. But they tell you that. They're honest about it. You know that they're giving opinions. But then when you get into their content online, even Fox will say dumb things like without evidence or other things. At the Wall Street Journal, the same thing. Wall Street Journal used to be known as conservative because of its opinion pages, but the big paper itself was not conservative. There was a conservative section to it, and now that conservative section isn't as important anymore because they were more of your neocons, your neoconservatives, your warmongers. And I used to follow that shit, so I know. I used to follow it. I'm not that person anymore. I've grown. I've taken in other information. Says, you know what? After a certain period of time, this stuff that I was being told by this group of people, it's not working. And it's not what I want anymore. I don't want to be fighting with everybody. I just don't. I don't want a war with Russia. I don't know why some of you do. And we've literally been, if you don't, there's a word on it, war. Yeah, the fuck we are. And not just terrorists from gangs. We are literally at war with Russia. We're just using somebody else to do the fighting and dying for us. Using them. And when I asked this question on my Facebook, why is it that for 3 years of the Biden administration, not one time can we recall an attempt for them to try to end and negotiate an end to the war? And the looks of it, from what I'm seeing and the things that are starting to come out now, and it's on both sides because Republicans and Democrats, a good number of them on both sides support Ukraine and the war against Russia. It also looks like they were the ones getting kickbacks and money. And the number one answer, literally on my Facebook question. Now, it's not a scientific poll or anything like this. It's just anecdotal. And yes, my people lean, but every single person was adding, why did the Biden administration not attempt to end the war in any way or negotiate a peace settlement? Money. Literally every single person said money, whether it was for the corporations or kickbacks. It's for all of it. It is literally for all of it. Russia is not trying to put together the old Soviet Union again. They're not looking to take over Poland or all these other countries that used to be a part of the Soviet Union 35 years ago. They're not looking to do that shit. 40 years ago. They're not looking to do that. They're just looking out for their own best interest, the way we all do, except for us. And then our own people criticize the one thing our government should actually do: protect us, look out for us. It's not their job to look out for another country. It's not the job. So, leading with that, getting into the Tesla stuff I was looking at, because I did say, if y'all remember, that I thought that there would be, after the election, I thought that there would be, that there was, and I said there was a potential for riots. And there was the potential. It didn't happen. I think they just got such a punch to the gut at the time, it just took the wind out of them. I thought maybe at inauguration that could happen then. And there were some minor shit, but nothing real, not that was a big deal. But they were starting to gather themselves a little bit. And now, as they've demonstrated, they're anti anything Trump, no matter what. Even if they violate their own core beliefs, they are going to oppose Trump, even if they have, because they've had a passion for at least the early 90s, right? So you're talking about for 35 years, they've had a passion about climate change. For 35 years. It's been one of the Democratic Party's core beliefs that we have to do something now to save the earth. And if we don't, we're all going to die. Until now. It's more important for them right now to be against Donald Trump than it is to support climate change, to laws, regulations that are going to keep our temperatures down, which I think is all bullshit, but it is what it is. That's their belief. But they're abandoning it now. And that's shown by Senator Mark Kelly, who I'm embarrassed to say is my senator, that he virtue signaled, and there was a lot of this, people were virtue signaling, especially if you were a liberal, by buying a Tesla. To say, look at what I'm doing for the environment. See what a good person I am? I'm buying an electric vehicle. And now he is virtue signaled again by getting rid of it to say, to prove I'm really anti-Trump. I'm so anti-Trump that, and he and Musk are friends and they're co-presidents, and I'm going to get rid of my Tesla that he already paid for, that Tesla already profited from. All they're doing is reducing temporarily by putting more of them on the market, used ones, dropping the used car price of a Tesla. And I know that. Do you know how I know? I looked it up so I could look and see if I might be interested in buying a Tesla, which I've never been interested in, but at a certain price I might be, especially a Tesla S, which is one of the more expensive ones. It's also the faster one. Not the Plaid. I'm not going to get a Plaid, okay, but the Tesla S is pretty much fast enough. And for just bopping around where, we're just going into Queen Creek in just 10 minutes around home, I could see that. But right now we don't need we're two people. We have three great vehicles, and very blessed to have very, very great vehicles, luxury vehicles, two of them, kind of, and then also a motorcycle, my Harley. Do we really need a fourth, or you could say fifth vehicle? Do we really need that for two people? No. But I could see myself doing that, actually. But it might be a symbol, but it wouldn't really be supporting Tesla, because Tesla's not going to get any of the money. And I wouldn't be doing it for the environment. I would just be doing it because of the value of it. It actually would have some value, especially being able to buy it lower temporarily and to also stick it in people's eye. I wear my MAGA hats to support the movement, but I also do it as a fuck you to liberals. And I didn't know this. I'm getting off track, but that's okay. I'll weave back, I promise. But, we're going to another Suns game. We're going Friday because they're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Nice. This is going to be a really good game.
And people are so fucking stupid, dude. The game we went to against Toronto was sold out, man. And they're playing Toronto, and Toronto sucked ass, right? Okay, yeah, there are some resale tickets available, or were, for the Raptors. There's some resale tickets available for the game against Cleveland. But they're sold out. because I just learned, and I honestly, to tell the truth, I probably would not have bought the tickets if I'd have known that it was going to be Gay Pride Night, Friday.
Okay.
That would have, now, me not buying them wouldn't be a boycott or wouldn't be, it's like, do I really like want to just be surrounded by that all over? It's just, but you know what I'm going to do, right?
What's up?
I'm going to wear my red MAGA hat and I'm going to wear my Only Felons t-shirt. I want to see if, when I'm going through security, if anybody has a problem with that. We might be able to, become famous.
Hey, one way or another, right?
One way or another, brother. It all works. And also, just as a, like, you're going to shove this shit down my throat, I shove it right back. Yeah. So that I'm going to do that. But I probably wouldn't. But people commenting on this game, I saw it come up on my feed. Oh, like, they're going to, people aren't going to go to the game. And like, what are you talking about, dude? That's not the case. Yeah. It's going to be sold out. I know it's going to be sold out. That's not going to change anything. And I might have chosen to go to the game. My number one reason for going to the game was because it was Cleveland. Because I wanted, it was nice to go to a game to see the Suns win.
Yeah.
And so, it was okay seeing the shitty Raptors because I wanted to see the Suns actually win. They're probably not going to beat Cleveland.
I don't know. They're in good form right now. So
it might be a better game. I'm all for it. Like but it would be a game against one of the top
competitors,
3 or 4 teams in the NBA right now.
Yeah. As
far as regular season goes. And I don't know who a lot of those players are. I've caught some of them. I'm learning more about, who's this Cleveland team that's all of a sudden come together as a real team this year, playing as a team and wanting to see that in person. So I probably would have went anyways, but I would have just been exasperated, like, ugh. But I didn't know it up front.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's all this virtue signaling that's done with Tesla to see how green I am. And it's not just when people, these same people who bought Teslas want to talk about Elon Musk getting government money or tax benefits or whatever. They all get it. And guess who else gets it? Many of the owners of the cars or people who buy the cars. That buying one would allow you to make a tax deduction on your federal income taxes that somebody buying a Buick is not going to get. Again, why does the government do that? Carrot and stick, to try to get you to do a certain thing and move a certain way. Well, how's that actually working out? So I had a conversation with Grok.
Okay.
We talked, Grok and I. And we talked about electric vehicles. And again, this is such a great tool to use that, to me, is already better than Google. And Google was super helpful to us. Like, you never had to wonder again, right? Like, if you're having a discussion, I was having a discussion one time about the average salary for kickers in the NFL with someone, and we were disagreeing. Well, in the old days, 25 years ago, if you're having that discussion at a bar, you're just having that discussion. Neither one of you could prove it was true or not true. Here you can have a discussion, pull up Google, get the answer, and see who's right. And I got to say, I do like being right. I'm not going to lie. But now with the Chat GPT, with the Grok, and with these AI tools, you can get better summaries, you can get better answers, you can get more concise information faster, like way faster than you could by piecing it all together yourself through Google. You could still do it through Google. It's just why would you want to spend 45 minutes to get that and put it together from Google? What you can literally get in less than 5 minutes by using the AIs now, right? So even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, just simply start using it and start asking questions. And then you do get the links at the bottom that support like where it searched the entire web. And you can have different settings of how deep it searches to like get you a higher probability of being right too. That's interesting too. But who do you think is or how many of these electric vehicle companies do you think are profitable?
Tesla.
Yeah, one. The only one, dude. And it gets worse than that, okay? It gets worse than that. But they are the only U.S.-based EV that's profitable. And worldwide, the only other one that's profitable I don't know if it's BYO, BYD. It's whatever the fucking shit electric car that they make in China.
In China?
In China.
I would have said Japan, but...
No,
okay.
China.
Interesting, okay.
And it's... A part of that is, again, the government subsidizing it. So you can't always trust the financial numbers of Chinese companies. So maybe it's profitable, maybe it's not, or maybe it's break even, who knows. But that's the only other one that potentially is profitable. And here in the United States, there's only one. So who are the other ones? You have Rivian. Rivian is the one that makes like those SUVs and like trucks, electric trucks. Then you have Lucid. And I don't know if you've seen Lucid or not. Most people have not seen Lucid. We do out here. And they actually have a location at the Scottsdale Fashion Mall, like inside the mall. You can buy a car.
Yeah, I've seen a few of these.
Yeah, there's a few. But there's only a few. Wait till I get to that part, dude. And then you have Fisker, who nobody has seen a fucking Fisker. Nobody's seen one. This company actually filed for bankruptcy last year and basically got bailed out when, we'll get to it, where not only are they not profitable, looking towards its future, nobody sees it becoming. It's not on a path to becoming profitable at any time in the next 3 to 5 years. So let's start with Rivian. In 2023, Rivian had a net loss of $5.4 billion. You know how many vehicles they delivered?
100,000?
50.
50,000?
50,000 vehicles. And that means that their losses averaged $30,000 to $40,000
Per vehicle?
per vehicle. And I don't know what the average price of a Rivian is. Maybe you can look that up. But they're not cheap. Oh, if a 2022, if a used one is 54,000 and I just seen 70-some thousand on there, yeah. These are not cheap SUVs. Not at all. And so somebody's paying 70, 80,000, right? For a vehicle. And it's not even covering the cost of the vehicle, what it takes to build the vehicle. Are you kidding me? 109,000, 112, $100,000 vehicle. Holy shit, dude. $100,000 vehicle.
I'm pretty sure these are all just pre-owned as well.
And those are pre-owned ones?
Oh, no, sorry. These ones are...
No, that
new
says
ones.
new.
Yeah, they're new. Okay.
Yeah. No, you're right where I want you to be. Unbelievable. And they have some 80,000
Under 80,
to go 250 miles. At least that one. The ones that are going 400 miles, those are 100,000 under there. Like, come on, man. So $80,000 to $100,000 or more. And it doesn't even, and and they would have to raise the price $30,000 to $40,000 just to break even. And then who's going to buy that? That you're really limiting who could buy it. And so they're taking the loss, trying to get people in the vehicles. Crazy, man. So let's go to Lucid and pull up Lucid. Find out. Lucid's more expensive. Lucid is like the luxury electric vehicle. But remember, Rivian sold 50,000. 50,000. So Lucid, for 23, had a net loss of $2.8 billion. Now, much lower than the Rivian, right? Compared to that 5.4. But you made a guess of 100,000. It was 50,000 vehicles delivered. How many Lucid vehicles delivered?
You said 1.2 bill?
$2.8 billion loss.
0.8. So probably 100,000, a little more than that.
7,000 vehicles delivered.
7,000.
This is a company
Yikes.
losing this kind of money,
Yikes.
and they only made 7,000 cars, dude. And the range is what? 70,000 to over 110, because it says from. It goes up from there based on what packages you put on there, right?
What?
And you know it can go way above that 110. Look at that, fully equipped, 250,000. I told you, these are the luxury ones. So 70,000 to 250,000, and they have multiple vehicles.
They have a lot of different vehicles.
They have a lot of different vehicles. But what are they hand making these motherfuckers?
Apparently.
So you know what the losses are estimated on these vehicles?
I can't even do the math in my head right now. But like 250,000, maybe. Like,
You are very close. You're doing better.
Yeah,
You're
like,
doing better.
Like Jesus Christ.
$300,000 a vehicle.
Yeah, I was like,
So can you imagine selling a vehicle for $120,000 and you're $300,000 short on what it cost you to build it after charging $120,000 for the vehicle?
Yikes.
And obviously, if they had to sell it for what it cost to build it, and so why is everybody doing this? The government, man, the government's forcing this on the market. They forced this on the market, requiring things to change over time, not trusting the market we skipped a very important part. And a lot of people would be for this. I mean, a lot of people. And I'll raise my hand as I'm one. Even though I haven't owned one, I would own one, okay? And that's a hybrid. I would own a hybrid and go from 30 miles a gallon to 50.
Hell
I
yeah.
would own, and because you get the speed, you still have the sound, you don't have to worry about charging. You could still drive and get to wherever you want. But that would, if more people had hybrids, that would dramatically help the environment too, if that's what you're trying to do. But it's like we skipped over that. We did it for a few vehicles, short time. Like I looked at a hybrid Tahoe one time, and the main reason I didn't do it is, you know what the big difference was between them two, besides the engine
What's up?
that got them the extra gas mileage?
The seats.
Putting in more plastic into the vehicle
Yeah.
to make it lighter.
Yeah, it's become very popular over the years because of the weight reduction.
Yeah,
you
that's
get a
what they
lot
did.
of cheap plastics in a lot of cars.
Yeah.
A lot of high-end cars got a lot of cheap plastics in them. Yeah.
And that's why.
No, that makes
It's
sense.
for the-
That
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't want that. I wanted metal.
Yeah.
Call
No,
me
that's fair.
crazy.
No, 100%.
Yeah. So that's your, Fisker. We haven't gotten to Fisker yet. Okay, we got to do Fisker. Nobody's like, you're not seeing a Lucid in Toledo, Ohio, where I'm from. You can see one here in Scottsdale, Arizona. But if there's only 7,000 vehicles delivered in a year, what the fuck do you think your chances are of seeing one? These things are more rare than Ferraris, right? So let's go to Fisker. Fisker filed for bankruptcy in 24. And it doesn't even say how much, but obviously losing money on every vehicle. And again, with no potential to see profitability anywhere in a 3 to 5 year period or in its future. So then we got to go to who else makes these, right? Well, that was just strictly a comparison of electric vehicles. GM and Ford. So I asked Grok, and I started having a conversation about GM and Ford, right? Now, both GM and Ford are currently profitable, both of them.
Yeah.
But their EV divisions, if you were to take them as a standalone, business or on a standalone basis, not profitable. Ford, they have the Model E. I guess that's a little nod to the first Ford Model T, right? It's kind of funny. The Model E. They had a $4.7 billion loss in 23, and they lost $36,000 a vehicle. Now, the company still made money because they just ate it, but it ate into the profits of their internal combustion engines that were profitable. And who do you think gets hurt when, like, if they weren't producing any EVs? And would Ford be producing electric vehicles right now if they weren't forced to by the government? And they are forced to.
I don't think so.
What they might wait and do, just hear me out, what they might wait and do is let these other electric vehicle companies fight it out. And if you have 3 or 4 of these electric vehicle companies that are profitable, either partner with one of them or buy them out and bring that division in at some later point, right?
Once you know it works.
Sure. And you'd have the money to buy it because you wouldn't be losing money like you are now to do it. But who gets hurt? Average Americans get hurt. And here's how average Americans get hurt. Because GM and Ford stock is in a lot of your pension plans. It's also in a lot of different mutual funds. And then some people just own Ford and GM stock, including their employees that work on the line. So I'm not just talking about the stock price going up and down, but the stock price is more likely to go up the more profitable a company is. But if it's having to fund something else that's just totally losing money and doing nothing for them, the person that gets hurt is the shareholder. And I don't understand why people aren't putting this together, that even when we get to Tesla, a lot of regular people own Tesla stock and you don't even know it. Tesla is a top 100 NASDAQ company. So sometimes you have mutual funds that only invest in, they don't pick winners and losers and do that. They'll just pick a sector like the S&P 500, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's mutual funds that invest on a percentage basis and break their portfolio out on a percentage basis of the NASDAQ 100. And Tesla's in there. And they can't just take Tesla out of it because that's not the idea of the fund. So, or, just other, like because this owning Tesla stock was like owning Apple. And it's still like, let me help you all out here and give you some financial advice. And I am qualified to do so because I had 24 years as a financial advisor, Series 7, Series 24, Series 65, and variable insurance and insurance license, and a registered investment advisor. Those are my motherfucking credentials, okay? And managing $150 million for clients at the time, 15 years ago, all right? So I do have some basis in this. This is my wheelhouse, too, besides, testosterone. And I'll tell you why it's a lot like Apple, because even though you could have become a millionaire by buying a small amount of Apple, when it first came out, there are other times you could have bought Apple and made a shit ton of money. even when the company was 15, 20 years old. It doesn't mean because a company is 15 or 20 years old that you've missed out on all the profits or the potential for it to go up. That's not the case. A lot of people have made money, especially, when for a minute it might be out of favor for a minute. Like for them, you have a CEO that leaves, and then they bring back that CEO and founder of the company, and the stock goes up again, and they have new innovations that they produce. And so I think the same thing is true here. This is absolutely, are they going to be able to destroy this company altogether? No. And I'll tell you why. We'll get to that when we get to the numbers. They're not going to be able to do it because you can't say you care about the environment, and the one company that is doing the most to get where you wanted to be in the form of vehicles. And look, wouldn't it be true if you talk about that in the near future, 5 to 10 years, you all might not be driving very much anymore because you're going to be in vehicles that drive for you? Well, would those not be electric too? Right? So no matter what, the vehicle you're going to go around in, the whole idea was less combustion engine vehicles and more electric vehicles. And I've already given you the numbers. Look, I didn't even ask, and I should have asked. Go ahead and put it in there. Search it. How many cars did Fisker deliver in 2023 or 2024? Deliver.
They only delivered less than half. They produced 10,000. Only 10,000 were built.
They had 63,000 orders, but only 10,000 were built,
and then
with fewer than half delivered. Yep. So 5,000 cars they built and they couldn't deliver them? What was wrong with them? There had to be something wrong with them, right? That's why they didn't get delivered. So Fisker, 5,000 vehicles. Lucid, 7,000, right? And Rivian, 50. All three of the other companies together didn't even sell 75,000 vehicles. You have 4 electric vehicle companies. Numbers 2 through 4 can't even sell 75,000 vehicles. They're garbage. I mean, it's okay to not be profitable for a minute. That's standard small business, big business. That fucking happens. Now, look, if investors want to keep Lucid and Rivian afloat, all right, that's on them. That's cool. But the government shouldn't be helping keep companies like Fisker afloat when they're claiming bankruptcy and it doesn't matter how good their idea is or what they're trying to do. It's not good enough. It's not working. This reminds me of that Solyndra, which was solar, that went bankrupt, and then we bailed them out. The people that invested the money got their money back, and then the company closed, and those people didn't learn their lesson. They should have taken the loss. They made the investment, not the government. But the government bailed out their friends. So, that's capital. That's crony capitalism. That's just bullshit. Okay, the government shouldn't be involved in that way. So yeah, so let's go to. So that was Ford, and when we get to GM, I don't have. It doesn't give me numbers of how many vehicles they sold, but supposedly they're expecting to have some kind of profitability by the end of 25, but that's not certain yet. Okay. So it hasn't happened yet. So of any other company, the only one that's even close is GM.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So now let's get to Tesla.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's get to Tesla. Tesla first became profitable in 2020. And for 2024, net income of $7.1 billion. It's down from $15 billion, but that had to do with a tax benefit that they received from the previous year that inflated that number So, it's not that big. It's not as big a drop as you think it is because of where part of that increase in 23 came from. Revenues important. Like, how much money are they taking in? 97 billion. And even with, things going down in the third and fourth quarter last year, it's still an increase from the 96.8 billion to 23. So revenues, just sales, right? All right. Deliveries. How many vehicles did they deliver? You remember? Make your guess again.
I'd say over maybe a little bit close to 500,000. A little less than that, maybe 350 cars, right? Individual cars.
Oh.
Yeah.
How about 1.79 million
Wow.
vehicles?
Is that just in the U.S.? Or
That's probably not.
I would assume worldwide then.
Worldwide.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Wow. That's a lot of Tesla.
That's a lot of Tesla, right?
A lot of Tesla.
That's a lot of Teslas. You see them around. You do see those around. What do you see? You don't see a fucking Fisker. There's 5,000 of those motherfuckers. You don't see a Lucid, except here, because of the, this is a high income area that we're in here. But they only made 7,000 of those fuckers. Or delivered 7,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. What else? What do we have here? Oh, I do have a number for GM. GM delivered 75,000 electric vehicles in 24.
Okay.
75,000.
Still pretty low for, especially for a car.
Still low.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
So if you include, and Ford probably wasn't that many.
Mm-hmm.
So if you include
all
GM, Ford, and the number 2 through 4 only EV manufacturers, you're looking at less than 150,000 cars from 5 different companies. 150,000 compared to the 1.79 million vehicles of Tesla. Now, an important financial number when you're looking at stocks, giving you a little tip here of something that's very important, is free cash flow. Free cash flow is an important number. 13.4 billion in 24. Their profit per vehicle, 7,000. Now, at its highest,
solid.
it was in 22 was at 15,000
Per car?
Mm-hmm. Now they're down to 7. And then I said too, that China BYD, 4.23 billion in profit. And again, operates pretty much just in China. And then you get the lower labor and everything with it. So and we don't know how, much we can trust. I don't have numbers of vehicles for BYD, but that would be interesting to see too. But yeah, that's it. And then, so now this is what these motherfuckers are attacking. This is what people are attacking. And for these politicians to attack this is a great American business story. This is ours. This is our innovation. You're talking about a great American company that you all loved through 2022 and into 23. You change your mind in 24 because of the CEO's support of Donald Trump. Because of your hatred for one man, you're trying to influence what other people do, and it's hard to influence what other people do. So you can boycott all you want, but this intimidation needs to be fought against, because what they're trying to do is intimidate and stop people that don't care about the politics one way or another, that just want an electric vehicle, but maybe because they don't want to have to worry about their vehicle being damaged or them being personally attacked or be driving down the road and you're only going 10 miles an hour at that point or something, or you're at a traffic light and somebody runs up and starts banging on your fucking vehicle or runs up with a spray can to, paint a swastika on it. It's not a Nazi vehicle. It's not killing a race of people. Y'all were trying to save the fucking planet. And now you don't care about saving the planet. But you care about the threat to democracy? What does democracy even mean if there's no planet? How do you just totally rip out one of your core beliefs? Was it really not a core belief? Was it all bullshit? I'm just saying, it's probably bullshit. I believed it was bullshit all along. But you're just proving you're just proving me right that it was all bullshit, that it don't matter. It don't matter. I think the market could have handled all of this stuff over time and, continue to produce results. Like, even though, Trump would pull us out of the Paris Climate Accords, do you know what country, even after we pulled out, made the most progress of reducing carbon emissions? Do you know what country? Us. We pulled out of the agreement and we still did more than any other country to reduce carbon emissions. Yep. I don't know, man, but I'm telling you, I'm serious about this. I may be a motherfucking badass, but on my Facebook, this little blurb I have there, and people try to attack me sometimes with it, is funny as fuck. It's a song. I'm an American badass, a bad motherfucker. Been getting to the business since a little bad youngster or whatever the line is. It's funny. I like it. It's not Kid Rock either, you stupid bitch. Somebody says, yo, you trying to be like Kid Rock? No, I'm not. It's a song. Maybe I do think I'm a badass. Maybe I am a little arrogant. I don't care. It's just who I am. But I tell you this, I dare any of these people that are threatening others, you're going to eventually find somebody like me. I'm not the only one of us out there. I'm not the only MAGA out there that ain't going to take your fucking shit. Someday you're going to step up against one of us, and it is not going to end well for you. You're going to, best case scenario for you is maybe it's like a draw, or you're going to, no matter what, you're going to know you're not just going to get away with it. You're going to know you were involved in a situation. That's the best case scenario. And the worst case scenario is you could really, really get hurt. Because I've learned my lessons. I've actually done some things. I'm not saying I'm proud of all the things I've done, but I've actually done some things. I promise you, I am not afraid of one of you motherfucking liberals that think that you're a badass and going to challenge MAGA or, try to just be a piece of shit to somebody because of a t-shirt, because of a hat, or because of an electric vehicle. And especially when you have to attack a vehicle where somebody's not even at their vehicle, that's a true pussy move. Because you're not willing to go up against and challenge the person, but you're challenging an inanimate object that has no ability to oppose you. That just makes you a pussy. It's a sign of weakness. But you got some balls. If you haven't cut them off yet, step up. We're out there. Because we're not hiding. We haven't put away our MAGA hats after the election. It's not a thing. We still have it. And I do too. That's what I have for you today. Step on up. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces.